Welcome to this special preview of the 2014 GP4 Offline Championship. It's a new era for the championship, new cars, new drivers, new highlights editor and new engines as well, as we say goodbye to the 2.4 litre V8 engines and hello to the 1.6 litre V6 turbocharged hybrids. There are a lot of team changes at plenty, but before we have a look at them and the 4 days of pre-season testing, let's have a look at a little recap of last year's World Championship.
There's a long road just behind you. Everything has come so fast. Memories are all inside you, and you never make them back. I can feel that you're in through the world that you not make sense. You can feel what I mean now that you're here. Just know there's nothing to fear along the way. There's nothing I could say, nothing I could say. Can't feel relief with being blind or dumb. Find something to believe in and then never give it up. I can feel that you're in with the world that did not make sense. You can feel what I mean now that you're here. There's nothing to fear along the way. There's nothing I could say, nothing I could say. Nothing I could say, but I say, you can wipe the years you're hiding. I say, you just gotta make it last forever, forever. You can wipe the years you're hiding. I say,
a very exciting championship, you have to say. Hopefully the 2014 season will be even more exciting. Well, before we have a look at what happened in pre-season testing, let's have a look at the drivers and teams ahead of the new season. Ferrari going into the 2014 season still looking for their first title. They're hoping the new era changes that. They have recruited 3-time and defending champion Florian Volker, who joins from Redbull, and he'll be joined by fellow multiple champion Joseph Willows, who is entering his 4th year with the team and looking to put a disappointing 2013 season behind him. With Volker gone, Red Bull have recruited Robert Ionescu from Lotus to partner alongside 2009 world champion Mclaren in the hopes of retaining both titles that they won last year, but they may find it tricky as a result of the regulation changes. However, they are hoping to still mingle at the front. Lotus go into this season with a brand new lineup for the second season in a row. They have recruited 2 drivers who have had very strong 2013 campaigns. These are Kirishima DeRosa from Sauber and David Greenwood from Marussia. Lotus is looking to go one better in 2014 and win their first title. Mercedes go into this season in the hopes of winning this year's title and look more prepared for the new regulations compared to other teams. Whether this produces results, we will wait and see. The team retained Jay McKenzie for another season, and he is joined by former Ferrari driver Wace Cuba, who is desperate to win the title after his second half of the season slump last year, which may have been the reason why Ferrari let him go. Mclaren are one of 2 teams to retain their driver lineup from last year. These drivers are Alex Southgate, who joined McLaren at Silverstone last year as a result of 2012 champion Viggo Holst making an immediate retirement, and Croatian veteran Madrina, who had a very impressive rookie year. The pair of them will be hoping to do better than last year and get McLaren back to the front. Sauber had a very impressive year last year and are hoping to do better. The team retained Oliver Glazebrook for a second successive season, and with Kirishima DeRosa moving to Lotus, it is up to former Caterham driver Rick Yan to fill the void. Force India, just like McLaren, are another team to retain their driver lineup from last year. These drivers are Britain's Armagh car and 2010 GP2 champion Rifki Fakhrizadeh, who enters his final year in the top class. Although the car had pace for consistent points finishes last year, reliability let the team down, and they are hoping to rectify this and do better than last year. Williams did better than what people expected after a tricky 2012 season. Both Romain Quarg and Roland Motrin did a great job for the team, and the pair finished tied in the championship. However, the team for this year have had to make a sacrifice and retain only one of them for this year as a result of former Lotus driver Will Neller joining the team. The man being Romain Quarg after beating his teammate on a countback in the Drivers' Championship. Williams switched to Mercedes powered this year and are looking to do even better than last year. Toro Rosso had a miserable season with so much bad luck, and he even had William Duncan cause a lot of crashes for the team. William is no longer at the team as the team have retained Italian Franco Gamba for a 3rd successive season, and he'll be joined by 2013 GP2 champion Robert Hunter, making Toro Rosso an all GP2 champion lineup. Toro Rosso are looking to improve this year as a result of switching from Ferrari to Renault engines. Marussia had a very impressive 2013 season, finishing ahead of their rivals Caterham and even finishing only 6 points shy of Toro Rosso, with most of the points coming from David Greenwood. Their reward for achieving this was acquiring Ferrari engines. The team have 2 new rookies fielding their lineup in the form of Argentine and ex-Ferrari test driver Franco Lopez, and he will be joined by Roberto Gamba, who is the cousin of Toro Rosso driver Franco Gamba, making them the first relatives in GP4 OC since the Willows brothers of Joseph and James in 2011. Finally, Caterham come into this season in the hopes of beating Marussia after losing to them last year. They have a brand new lineup, and coincidentally both their last names are Anderson. Their drivers consist of 2012 GP2 champion Cameron Anderson, and he is joined by German rookie Julius Anderson. Caterham have come under some financial difficulty, and it is unknown whether the team will be on the grid after this year. With the lineups out of the way, let's have a look at the 4 days of pre-season testing at Barcelona and Sakhir. The first day of pre-season testing got underway in the wet conditions, with Cameron Anderson and the Caterham the first man out on track. The Gambas were busy trying to find the grips of their cars, as Roberto went off at turn 4 aquaplaning into the gravel and damaging part of his front wing, whereas Franco had more severe consequences as he went off at turn 11 and smacked it into the wall, ripping off his front wheel, meaning he would have to get into the T-car to continue the remainder of the session. Defending champion Florian Volker, in his first appearance as a Ferrari driver, was held up by traffic and, to make matters worse, got caught out in the conditions worsening and could only manage 18th on the first day. In the end, it ended as a Mercedes 1-2, with Wace Cuba in his first outing as a Mercedes driver topping the session by over a tenth ahead of Jay McKenzie, with Joseph Willows being the best of the non-Mercedes drivers in 3rd ahead of Robert Ionescu in the Redbull, albeit over a second behind them. This was, however, despite a clumsy run-in with the Caterham of Julius Anderson towards the end of the session at turn 1. The final day at Barcelona saw mixed conditions, with the session mainly dry and only parts of the session being damp. Ferrari appeared to struggle on day 2, as Florian Volker, who despite doing a lot better than day 1, could only manage 9th, with Joseph Willows being behind him in 10th. Force India looked to show some good pace as Rifki Fakhrizadeh and Armagh Car finished the session in 6th and 8th respectively, showing that they could have a strong season come the start of the season. Kirishima DeRosa, now driving for Lotus, had a torrid day, first suffering a suspension problem halfway in testing, then in the spare car had a crash at the exact same point where Franco Gamba crashed on day 1. Kero only managed to put his car in a dismal 21st, confirming that Lotus appeared to be struggling. Wilnella looked to show some brilliant pace in the Williams, showing that they had turned a corner in performance and put his car in 4th place. Romain Quag appeared to struggle though, as he could only manage 11th. In the end though, Waste Cuba yet again topped the session, but only by 0.02 of a second ahead of Robert Ionescu in the Red Bull, and a further 14 thousandths ahead of Miklos Gau also in the Red Bull, showing that Red Bull could still challenge for the title as Miklos topped most of the session. Jay Mackenzie though looked to be struggling as he could only manage 5th. After day 2, the overall result of Barcelona testing was the same as day 2, as a result of day 1 being wet. Day 3 saw the drivers fly over to the Middle East at the Bahrain International Circuit in Sakhir, making it the first time in GP4 OC history that a testing session took place outside of Europe. The session was sunny and bone dry, meaning that we could finally see drivers push their cars to the limit. There were a couple of clumsy errors at turn 1. First, Franco Lopez and Vedra Regina had a collision, forcing both the Marussia and the Mclaren to pit for new front wings. Then Rick Yan and Wilnella came together, causing them to half spin their cars. However, unlike Lopez and Regina, the pair of them escaped without damage, which was a good thing for Nella, as he was able to continue his great form in the Williams and went one better than day 2 to finish the day in 3rd. Robert Hunter also had a collision at turn 1 with the Williams as he was coming out of the pits. Ferrari looked to have improved from day 2's slump, as Volker and Willows managed to end the day in 6th and 8th respectively. However, the team still looked like they need a lot of work to do, as Florian finished the day 7 tenths off the pace, with Joseph a further 2 tenths away. After a good day yesterday, Robert Ionescu appeared to struggle in his Red Bull, as he could only manage 7th, 4 tenths slower than new teammate Miklos Gau, who finished the day in 4th. Meanwhile, Lotus still looked to be nowhere near the front. However, there were some smiles as David Greenwood was able to place his car in 13th, with him being in the top 10 for most of the session, which was a hell of a lot better than where the team were in Barcelona. The same though couldn't be said for Kirishima De Rosa, as he still struggled to get to grips with his new car and could only manage a dismal 19th. It was a doubly exciting day for Williams, as along with Wilnella finishing 3rd, Romain Quag was able to finally find that pace that seemed to be lacking in the first 2 days, as he was able to finish the day in 5th, although being 4 tenths shy of his new teammate. Just as it was in day 1 at Barcelona, the first day at Sakhir ended with a Mercedes 1-2, and it was Waste Cuba who topped the session again, making it 3 out of 3 for the Congolese driver. He was just under 2 tenths clear of Jay Mackenzie, who is still yet to outpace his new teammate. The final day of pre-season testing saw the test drivers for all of the 11 teams make an appearance. Just like yesterday, there were a few clumsy errors at turn 1, with Julius Anderson and Rifki Fakhrizadeh coming together, nearly beaching it into the gravel. However, their collision was nothing compared to the collision between the Williams and Lotus test drivers of Roland Mclaren and Jamie Griffiths, with Roland coming in too hot trying to pass the Toro Rosso of Franco Gamba and T-boning the sign of Jamie Griffiths, resulting in the Welshman losing his rear left wheel, forcing him to run back for the spare car. After avoiding a collision between Roland and Jamie, Franco Gamba also made a mistake. Pushing his car to the limit, he caught a snap of oversteer which caused the Italian to spin off at the swooping corners of turns 5, 6 and 7. Despite the collision with Julius Anderson earlier, Force India had a very strong day, with Rifki Fakhrizadeh finishing the day in 11th, whereas the team's test driver Michael Mocho, determined to become the successor to Rifki Fakhrizadeh when the Indonesian retires at the end of the season, did even better to finish the day in 7th, giving Force India some promising signs for the season ahead. Ferrari had a mixed final day, with defending champion Florian Volker only managing a mediocre 10th position, whereas their test driver and GP4 newbie Jared Fosbury did even better than his more experienced teammate, finishing the day in 6th place. Williams had yet again another strong day, with Wilnella finishing the day in 4th, proving so far that his move to Williams was the right call. Despite crashing earlier, the man that will replace this year, Roland Mclaren, finished just over 1/10 behind his successor in 5th. Meanwhile, Red Bull, just like Ferrari, had a mixed day, with Robert Ionescu improving from yesterday's poor form to finish the day best of the rest in 3rd, whilst William Duncan, in his new role as Red Bull test driver after being given the chop at Toro Rosso, struggled to get to grips with the car and managed to only finish a disappointing 9th. At the end of the final day of testing, it was 4 out of 4 for Waste Cuba, as he became the first person in GP4 OC history to top every day of pre-season testing, showing that he could be the favourite going into the season, whereas the man he replaced at Mercedes, George Roque, now the team's test driver, finished the day just 400 shy of Waze, ensuring that Mercedes finished 1 and 2 for 3 of the 4 days. The overall results of Bahrain showed that all three Mercedes drivers ended up being first, second and third, with the team looking to be the favourites for this year's title, with Red Bull and Williams looking to challenge them, whilst Ferrari had a bit of work to do before the first race, and Lotus looked to have taken a huge slump from 2013. So an interesting 4 days of pre-season testing right there, with Waste Cuba and Mercedes looking to be the early favourites going into the season. Well, with that out of the way, let's have a look at the calendar for the 2014 season. The season will kick off as per usual at the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. However, during the course of the season there are a few changes from last year. Bahrain and China have switched places, with Bahrain becoming a night race for the first time in its history, and it will host the 150th race in GP4 OC history. The Korean and Indian Grand Prix are gone, and in their place are the Austrian Grand Prix at the Redbull Ring in Spielberg, which will play host to round 8 of the championship after spending the last few years as a GP4 DTM OC and a GP4 GP2 OC event, and the Russian Grand Prix at the Sochi Autodrome, which played host to the 2014 Winter Olympics. The track was last used in 2012 as a GP4 DTM OC event. Other changes include the German Grand Prix returning to Hockenheim to keep in line with the shareholding agreement with the Nürburgring, Kota and Yas Marina switching places, and unlike the real 2014 season, the finale will be at Brazil instead of Abu Dhabi after a vote back in 2009 by the drivers to make Brazil always the finale. So that is the calendar for the 2014 season, but just before we end this video, we've just got time to get a reaction from one of the drivers about how testing went for them, that man being Toro Rosso's Franco Gamba.
To be honest, the tests are going really bad. I'm not happy. First of all, we struggle a lot. We have no pace, and yeah, this is just tests. I just hope to be on points in Australia and to make a good championship. And we need to improve in qualifying, because last year we started always at the back, and that was a problem. And we need more power on this car, because these engines are difficult to manage. And yes, this is a new challenge, not only for Mimi but for all of us, and I'm ready for this year.
So not a very happy Franco Gamba. He'll be hoping that the season will be better than testing, as he is desperate for a good season. Well, that is just about going to do it for this season preview. Thank you for watching, and the next time we will see you, it will be on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne for the start of the new season. Until then, see you then.